I saw a very interesting quiz the other day, and if you answered the question on it, it would place you on the political spectrum, somewhere between conservative and right wing and left wing and socialist, and it would put where you are on this spectrum. And lots of things in life can be a spectrum. There's a spectrum of a belief. There's a spectrum of ability. Like in tennis, you can be absolute pro tennis player, down on the spectrum to someone who can't even get the ball over the net. There's a spectrum in ability there. But there can't be a spectrum in some things in life. Sometimes there isn't a spectrum. For example, pregnancy. You're either pregnant or you're not. You can't be a little bit pregnant. There are a number of areas in life that are like that. And Jesus in Matthew 12 verse 30 says, "He who is not with me is against me." You're either for Jesus or you're not. That's the spiritual reality. There's no way around it. You can't be a semi-Christian. You've got to be either for Jesus or you're against him. And when we look at, as in today's gospel passage, at John the Baptist, he says that Jesus, when he came, would bring the presence of God with him. God would be arriving with Jesus. Jesus, when he arrives, means his arrival means that God has arrived. God is here. There's no pussyfooting around here. There's no halfway measures. When he comes, the boss is here. Things are going to get sorted out. That's the meaning of this passage. And here in Advent, at this part of Advent, on the second Sunday in our Advent season, we're looking at Jesus as King. When we get to Christmas, we'll see him born as a baby and seen already as the true King. But here we look at him coming in judgment, at Jesus arriving with his winnowing shovel, as it says at the end of today's passage. And with his winnowing shovel, he is going to purify. Now, winnowing is this process. You get your corn and you lay it out on the ground, all the grain that you're going to purify. You lay it on the ground and then you throw it up in the air once it's dry. You throw it up in the air. And the grain that you want, will drop down to the ground. But if there's even a slight breeze, the chaff, the outer husks of the grain, will be blown away. So you get your winnowing shovel, or sometimes called a winnowing fork, and you throw up the grain in the air, and then the chaff will be blown away. And that, the stuff that you don't need, is just burnt away. You see, this is a picture of how Jesus is going to sort things out, but he starts it right now. See, it's a mistake to believe that this is just for when Jesus comes back in judgment, because he's here spiritually now. So spiritual winnowing can occur right now. Well, it occurs when people reject Jesus. If Jesus is rejected, then of course you're not part of this process anymore. You've decided to be chaff. But if you are following Jesus, you need to be purified. You need the chaff blown away. You need the fire of God to remove things that are getting in the way of your relationship with God, getting in the way of you living that joy-filled Christian life that it sometimes can feel elusive. The way to do it is for God to do it, for God to bring his fire. The fire of God comes to sort things out, to make things right. It's good news that God is a God of fire, that when Jesus is arriving, he comes in judgment, means something very special here. Notice what he's doing. He's making things good. That threshing floor, the removing of the chaff, the using of the winnowing shovel to get rid of things that get in the way is good news. And it's burnt up. You're made clean and pure. God does that. Jesus comes in judgment, and his judgment is this: I will change you. I will forgive you. I will make you pure and good. And then, as Jesus says, we can live out good lives. Jesus says in John chapter 10, verse 10, I've come that they may have life, and life to the full. Let's have that fullness of life start for us now. Let's come to Jesus and ask him to make us pure and good with his winnowing shovel. Let's come to Jesus and follow him with no halfway house, no half measures, no spectrum. Rather make the decision, the continuing decision to go on, following Jesus, the true King.